And the plot thickens, folks, as more classified documents have been found at another location that Biden worked in after the Obama Biden administration ended. Although sources are being very tight-lipped about where this second set of documents was found and how many of them there are, we do know that these documents were not found at the same location where the first set of documents was discovered, which was the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, which is an institute in downtown D.C. here that Joe Biden started after serving as vice president. Funny name. It should really be called the Penn Biden Center for U.S. Imperialism and Hegemony, but all of these former official warmongers have institutes and think tanks and libraries named after them with the most benign-sounding titles that hide their blood-soaked agenda of global domination. For example, just a couple of blocks away from the studio, there's something called the George H.W. Bush School of Government and Public Service, which is a D.C. satellite of the Texas A&M University flagship department, which is, of course, Bush's alma mater. Imagine the curriculum justifying all the coups and military interventions the U.S. orchestrated that come out of that place. But I digress. Back to Biden's document dilemma. There's no word on when this new set of classified documents was found either, but we do know that Biden's legal team found additional classified documents when they searched a second location after finding secret government papers in a different Biden office in early November. My guess is that the second cache of documents was found not too long after the first, and that makes this even worse if Biden's lawyers and White House team and Democratic strategists sat on the discovery of two caches of classified documents that Biden had until long after the midterm elections were over. But even if the second discovery was more recent, which I just don't buy, it's still not a good look for Mr. Biden right now. Remember that for federal government officials, employees, and contractors, classified records are supposed to be stored in secure locations. And I can attest to the fact that every single year, every single federal and probably state and local government employee and contractor has to take mandatory training on how to handle, store, and destroy classified documents and information. And when I say the training is mandatory, what I mean is you can be fired from your job if you do not take the training. And the training is not a cursory 15-minute video either. Normally, there are several modules you must go through. Usually, you have to take a little test at the end of each module to document that you actually understood what was said. And you have to pass that little test or else they make you take the module again. And then you have to document that you have completed the training at the end of the entire course. Usually a longer test at the end there, too. Having been a government contractor on several civilian contracts for at least 15 years, I can tell you that there is not one federal employee at any level who has not had to take these training courses. So the idea that anybody employed anywhere in the federal government does not know about properly handling classified documents, that is just hogwash. NBC News reported that Bradley Moss, a lawyer who specializes in national security issues and is a frequent Trump critic, tweeted after the NBC report aired on the second batch of documents, said, quote, "Nothing I have seen has changed my mind yet that Biden and his team, for now at least, are not at risk of criminal exposure. Nor do I have any reason to believe this changes the calculus on an indictment of Trump. That said, this sloppiness by Biden's staff angers me." The sloppiness of Biden's staff? When I was a contractor, there was no allowance for sloppiness if you mishandled classified documents in any way. I know that if I had done any of what these people did with classified documents, I would have been fired. Criminal exposure or not, end of story. But see, Hillary Clinton can destroy hard drives with a hammer, and that's okay. Joe Biden can transport classified documents off federal property and store them in private locations outside of the prescribed chain of custody, and that's okay. But Trump carting off hundreds of documents to Mar-a-Lago, well, that's a bridge too far. And keep in mind that under the Presidential Records Act, White House records, all of them, are supposed to go to the National Archives when an administration ends. Why exactly is there an allowance made for Biden to have flouted that rule and had classified White House documents mixed in with his own personal files and locked away in several different locations that are not the National Archives? You see, this is the kind of hypocrisy from the Democrats that the right actually gets right. And there really is no getting around that. They're quick to use the rule of law to adjudicate the wrongdoings of their political enemies, and maybe they're not wrong for that, but those same rules very often don't seem to apply to them. And worse, we're told that their violation of those rules just is not the same thing as when the other guy does it, solely because this time it's a Democrat. No matter how much the Democrats try to downplay Biden's document dilemma, this is a drama that honestly should not go quietly away anytime soon. Biden and the Democrats deserve every bit of scrutiny they're getting because of it, and a whole lot more. Follow Luke Ma Nation on patreon.com/LukeMaNation for lots of great content.